Okay, welcome back to Witness Stories. This one is The Campus Was Alive. So, there are some aspects of feeling that qualifies as a sixth sense. Everybody feels. But does this rise to the level of ESP? As noted in another story, knowing, or rather feeling, that someone is looking at you is a natural ability and can be effective at the level of a real ESP event. So, of course, as stated in movies such as Star Wars, feeling is often entwined with a basic spiritual energy. In that movie, they refer to it as the Force. Their source for that information is evident when you look at something like Qui-Dong or Tai Chi, and there it's the Chi energy. There are sometimes events that expose the depth to which that feeling goes and instructs one how to access it for yourself. ESP for the most of us is a subtle thing. It is not just a black and white comparison. It might be more like salt versus antique white. One must be used to looking to that depth. And to do that, you must care and believe that it matters. Then maybe you will try it for yourself. That's the only way you can discover it, is if you yourself try it. Some situations can give you a hint of the meaning of those feelings. This was one of my early experiences I'm going to tell you about. This ability to feel is what I call a secret in plain sight. Comparable events happen to everyone all the time, but most everyone will dismiss a perception as not important enough for any attention. But for me, the following story is a what the heck? What does this mean moment. So, in the late 1970s, I was a student living near my college campus. In my situation, I took up projects and some paid work on campus. These were in effect for me during the summer break, and I was not bored. It was engaging activity, and I settled down to a blissful 6-day-per-week routine. With almost nobody there on the campus, became very quiet and serene. Every weekday and Saturday, sometimes Sunday too, I would do the same routine. I would get up, do all the things people do at break of day, and then I would get up on my bike, ride down the main road through campus, and go to where my tasks were for the day. I did not even need to make any appointments or do anything for the next school year. I had all that completed already, even in knowing my class locations and times. So anticipation of that fall return to school fell off my awareness. I did not need to worry about exactly when it happened. When it happened, it would be there, and then I would know. So, near the end of the summer season, the weather was very level and unchanging day to day. As I recounted about it soon after. But one fine Monday morning, every feeling of the ride across that campus was different. It felt like an echo of harassed, busy, and intense. And before that, it was serene and quiet. But I saw nothing and heard nothing. All office operations were still closed, and no extra cars or people were seen. But that feeling of serenity was gone. I absolutely felt that difference. Checking all the details I could see to confirm why this environment felt that way, and I found I could not. There was nothing I could see. So I just went to work at my student job, but I wondered, what was that all about? The next day was totally different from the first day, yet again. The busy feeling was again in place, but now there were gobs of people, many cars, and lines of people waiting. This made sense since Tuesday was the normal day that such activity could first start. Oh boy, so it was this week then, time to go back to regular school. I had no idea. I wasn't watching for this day. So what I figure is that on Monday, people were actively focused on the college, mentally focused on the college. Some were going to be driving there that day, probably after I had crossed the campus. Some were settling into new living quarters sometime that day, but everyone except me was focused on that campus with intention of what would happen in a very few hours or days. All that week from there on, in track starting that Monday, starting in the now. So it was let's do this now kind of a focus I had assumed for everybody. I was not distracted by my own plans and activity. I was all set. All I had was my continuing and very contented in-place daily activity. The analogy I would like to point out is, consider a flashlight is rock steady, pointed at a light spot in a lighted room. If you walk into the room and cannot see the flashlight itself, you cannot tell where the spot is where the flashlight is pointed. But if you have that flashlight wave back and forth, now you have a sense of the color and shape of the beam. Now if you walk back out of the room and somebody repositions the flashlight, now when you walk into the room, it's much easier to see where the lamp is pointed at. That is, if you care to try. So that's my point of the story. Policemen have to do this. They have to have situational awareness. They walk into the space. It's very good for them to get a sense of what they can feel. It adds to their ability to have a hunch. But anyway, you could do that yourself. When you go different places, take a moment. See what that space feels like. You may be surprised by what you will discover ahead of time through the use of those feelings.